Welcome to the Transform Your Relationship podcast, where we'll go beyond the typical relationship advice. I'm your host, Manisha Terry, somatic healing practitioner and mentor. Each week, I'll share personal insights, client success stories, and how my holistic trauma-informed approach can help you transform your relationship from the inside out. You'll learn ways to recognize and prioritize your needs, get to the root of what's upsetting you, and courageously ask for what you want so you can confidently co-create the relationship you desire. You'll also hear from guest experts who will be invited to share their unique approaches to transformation, and at the end of each episode, you'll receive one tangible practice you can implement right away to transform your relationship. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Transform Your Relationship podcast. I'm Manisha, and today I have a guest with me. Her name is Lauri McKean. She is a love, dating, and relationship mentor. And Lauri and I met when I actually lived out in Ashland, Oregon, and I have always really appreciated her energetic approach to health, life, and relationships. And I know that on this show, I typically am talking to people about how we can work to manage like a struggle in our relationship or different modalities to support us in our relationships. But Lauri's work is really focused on clients who want to attract a relationship. So I thought it would be fun to have her on and to share how her method really supports women on their journey. So thank you, Lauri, for being here. I'm really happy to have you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm excited for our conversation.
Me too. So why don't we, before we dive in, if you want to take a moment to just share a little bit more of who you are, your background, what you do, anything you'd like to share with the listeners.
Well, sure. Thank you. So I primarily work with single women, as you said, who are age 40 and above, who are really desiring kind of a next level romantic relationship or partnership. And, but my work, because we're getting them relationship ready, it really involves a lot of kind of relationship skills and things that are applicable to women who are already have a partner. But my focus is those who are, that are wanting a new relationship, but they just don't feel ready for that or the dating process. Maybe they haven't had great relationships in the past and they don't want to keep recreating that dynamic, or they struggle with continually being disappointed by men they date. And so I have this holistic program that's really about alignment, about aligning them with their greatest potential for love. So they feel really empowered and like I said, relationship ready. And I like to work very holistically and comprehensively. You mentioned my background with energy, and that's a lot of my focus. But there's also, I think it's important to include all aspects of ourselves when we're doing transformation, when we're creating growth and change. So I work with the physical, including the nervous system, kind of the mental, like with mindset things, the emotions and triggers. So there's more flow and resilience. And then I call the energetic piece more the foundational master key. So that's what I do, both one-to-one, or I have a group coaching program as well, and some classes.
Thank you. Yeah, for explaining that a little bit more. And I completely agree with you. I think the holistic approach is absolutely the way to go. And I love talking with people kind of about their perspectives. And I think we all come with our different, training and educational backgrounds, and then we make them our own. And I have often felt that with you, like you have so many different modalities and training and experience, and it sounds like you're really bringing this into your own way of mentoring women in this area.
Yes, it's true. It's in some ways it's almost a little overwhelming for me to wrap it in a package. But yeah, I'm bringing in a lot of different, a lot of my background in many different things and a lot of different modalities.
Yeah. So I'm curious before we chat more about the practices and tools and things like that, but
Mhm.
is there something that you'd like to share in just in terms of like what drew you to this work specifically? Because as I mentioned, we met in Ashland and you were
Mhm.
practicing acupuncture and various modalities. And so I love like how you've expanded and shifted your focus. So
Mm.
if you would like to share a little bit of that backstory, that would be great.
Oh, sure. It's really fun to look back at my history and look at these different things that I was doing. I mean, primarily for the last 30 years, I've been doing things that are really kind of energetic embodiment practices. So I started teaching and practicing Tai Chi and Qigong. I've been doing that for over 30 years, and then brought in the Chinese energetic or the Chinese medicine and acupuncture in. And of course, when I was using these initially, it was really more towards applying them within the realm of health and wellness. And
Hmm.
then I got more motivated, both personally and professionally, to look at how can I apply these energetic principles and practices more to the realm of personal growth and
Hmm.
transformation and
Hmm.
relationship, and not just the way I was trained, which was towards health. And the relationship piece really came out of my own background. Have had a series of monogamous long-term relationships. And after the fourth one, I was about 45, 46 at the time. The fourth one ended, and I kind of went, I keep blaming these people. I keep saying I haven't found the right
Hmm.
partner. I
Hmm.
keep projecting maybe the common denominator is me. That's where
Hmm.
I need to start looking. And so I really started, looking at myself in relationship and, what was I bringing? What was I not bringing? And what were the dynamics? So my own journey was a big part of that motivation to kind of shift focus from health to personal growth, transformation, and relationship. And then as I started dating, I took a conscious, intentional 2 years off from relationships and
Hmm.
dating.
Hmm.
And then after those 2 years, I went back and went, okay, I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready to be in a relationship. And then I started the dating process, which was completely new to me at age 47, 48.
Hmm.
And I was able to really apply and practice a lot of the things I had learned and a
Hmm.
lot of tools I had built for myself into that process. And I loved it. I actually loved the process of online dating, which I know is rather unique.
Hmm. Yeah.
and and after 2 years of this process of dating, I met and fell in love and created this lovely partnership with my
Hmm.
sweetie Tommy, who I now live
Hmm.
with. And and now I get to practice all of these things in a committed relationship as well,
Yeah.
not just the dating realm. So yeah, so that's a little bit about what inspired
Hmm.
me and how I got into this.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I love that, and I just have loved witnessing your journey around that and how you're sharing about it. And I do think when we have a blend of training and education and really grounded experience working with clients, but then we've also made this personal transformation using the very tools that we utilize in our work, it's just so much more powerful for
Yeah.
people on the other side. So yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It is really, I can speak to when I teach about boundaries and we do experiences with things about building boundaries.
Hmm.
I can talk about, having been dating that guy who was a gaslighter and a narcissist
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
and what I experienced and
Hmm.
how I, was able to create a space where he just couldn't affect me in the end.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Yeah, and those types of things, when we are working with or navigating relationships with people who do gaslight or have those narcissistic tendencies. In my
Hmm.
work, I work with a lot of highly sensitive women, and I find that people are so, in tune with the other person, and they may not even, and less in tune with themselves. So there's a lot of self-doubt that comes in and making excuses for people. And I think it's like recognizing so many of these patterns and ways
Hmm.
that they are showing up that kind of help them start to see and separate themselves like from the dynamic that they're in. So yeah, I mean, I think that having had those experiences to help people maybe identify them a little more quickly than
Yeah.
they may be seeing them is really, really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I really feel like, the foundation of my program and my work are these energetic embodiment practices. And, I started using them based on the Tai Chi training I had, and the Qigong training. And I was really in the process of creating my own program around these,
Mm.
because I was already using these when I kind of stumbled upon a program that was already developed, already out there, called The Art of Feminine Presence,
Mm-hmm.
by Rachel Jane Groover. And, I found this program and it was like, oh, she's already put this together. So I
Mm-hmm.
got certified as a teacher of the program. And it's such powerful work because it's really about learning how to, not only recognize what's happening with our energy in our bodies and around us, but grounding and creating safety and strength and internal security, protection, internally feeling that sense of autonomy, all of those things that are core practices. I think it's just so important for relationships, for, anything where we're going outside of our comfort zone or, doing deeper work. It just, they stabilize the energy, but also the nervous system. And that's why I love working with this, with these energetic embodiment and presence practices
Mm-hmm.
first.
Mm.
Very first.
Mhm. Yeah. So would you be able to share maybe one or two practices just so people can have a little bit more of a tangible idea of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I will share. I'm going to share kind of what they are. I'm not going to
Okay.
not guide you through that right now,
Hmm.
just time wise.
Sure.
I don't want to do them an injustice by not giving them a
Of
little bit of
course.
time they need.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but for example, one of the just the the basic practices that we work with in this program is called womb space, awareness of womb space. And womb space is just a term for kind of the energetic center that's down in the pelvic bowl.
Hmm.
You don't have to have a uterus
Mm.
to be able to feel the energy of womb space. It's just it's kind of similar to the second chakra,
Hmm.
and it's just bringing your awareness and energy and presence more to that area has a tremendous impact. And so, for example, I guide clients in how to be there, how to hold and be in that space.
Hmm.
And then we do practices that also kind of show them the difference of being in that space or being kind of in the space we usually inhabit, which we call in the program the head bubble.
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
so the head bubble is more of that energy of being kind of above and in front of the head. It's kind of the monkey mind where there's a lot of perseveration of thoughts, worries, things like that. It's
Hmm.
more associated with like the ego. And, for example, we just do an exercise where I have women talk from their head bubble about their day. What was your day like? and I can feel myself going into it now as I'm talking. Their
Mm-hmm.
voices get higher, they get worried, they talk about things that worried them, things that are stressing them out. And then it's like, okay, now drop your presence, your awareness down into womb space. And
Mm-hmm.
then they talk on the exact same subject matter. And it's slower, it's more heartfelt, there's more connection. There is, there's just a deeper resonance. The focus tends to end up being on things that were going well, how they were being, what they were enjoying. And other women, if they're in, it's like in a group, as they watch one woman demonstrate, they feel it. They feel how much more, grounded and safe and secure that woman who's talking is in her body. But even as the listener, they can feel the difference for themselves. They talk about, oh, I wanted to connect with her. I wanted to know more. I had
Mm-hmm.
compassion. I had more compassion for her. So it's just, more awareness of how our energetic focus, our presence affects not only ourselves, but other people as
Mm-hmm.
well. So that's an example.
Mm-hmm. I think that anytime we are invited to move from that headspace, like down into
Mm-hmm.
our bodies, there's so much of a shift. And simultaneously, I think that it can be really challenging to do when that's not your orientation or you've never
Yes.
really done that before. And so I'm curious just for people who are listening to this and they think, yep, I know that that would be good for me and that would definitely help, but it's hard to make the time, or I wouldn't even say make the time, but it's hard to really try it because it feels maybe a little bit like anxiety provoking. I'm curious, like what you might say to
Hmm.
that person who's like
Yeah.
on the fence and they want to do it, but it's like, oh, this just feels like too much.
Yes. And I do want to say for some women dropping into that area, there does bring up some emotions. And if there was trauma there, it can be a little intense. So I do encourage people, you can do a couple different things. Instead of going to womb space, you go to the soles of the feet and kind
Mm,
of focus
nice.
there, or just simply kind of descending down a little bit, like from the heart. And can I move my awareness down a little bit more in the solar plexus,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So taking time to kind of find a space where you can start and feel
mm-hmm,
comfortable there, going deeper in the body. And then, in terms of actually making it more of a habit or a
mm-hmm,
practice, it does take a little bit of conditioning and time. So one of the things that I often encourage my clients to do is for 1 week, just for 1 week, you do an experiment. You set a timer on your phone for every hour, every 2 hours, every 3 hours, whatever feels right. And when the timer goes off, close your eyes or keep them open and just take even 1 minute to kind of
mm-hmm,
focus in and just allow yourself 1 minute,
mm-hmm.
a few times a day to experience really being in your body and
Mm-hmm.
present with your body and your energy.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the timer. I think that that is a really great way to start to build that habit in. And also,
Yes.
I find that setting a timer feels like, okay, I know when this is going to end. And for some folks, right, if this brings up kind of anxiety or tension, or even am I going to do this right or wrong or whatever it is, like knowing that, okay, I've set 1 minute on the timer or 2 minutes on the timer. I know this is going to end. I'm going to hear it. and I've done my practice and I can move on for the day. But I do think that over time, as we do that, of course, it gets easier, right?
Yes.
Most things, when we build them into our schedules like that, they do become more habitual, and we start to see some of the benefits on the other side, which motivates us more to do
Exactly. Exactly. As soon as you start to see and feel the benefits, you get more motivated. So
yeah. And
absolutely.
so, yeah, on that note, I am curious, like, what have you heard from clients, like on the other side, even if they're newer, even if they've done it for a while, like what are some things that you hear from people as they start to build this in?
Yeah, a lot of things kind of start to shift and ripple out. One of the things that I hear most is that they have a sense of, again, more safety and strength and security and being grounded in themselves. There's also some core practices where we practice kind of creating and being with the energy around us, almost like a light globe, and how to work with kind of this protective space around us that creates a sense of autonomy and not getting so enmeshed with people. Especially that practice, what I hear from women is that when they're able to really incorporate that in, they really can have a sense of being, very much more sovereign, still loving, still connected with people around them, with relationships, but not get into that, codependency and enmeshment mode, people pleasing mode that that was their kind of their default pattern before. So, and a lot of shifts for women around communication, being not only more honest and direct, but also compassionate. I think that's important to have both. A lot of women talk about, feeling like the boundaries flow easier and that they don't have to be enforced because they're just kind of integrated into their very being. When you think about boundaries, if you're just thinking about them and trying to enforce them with a person, it's a whole different thing than if you're actually embodying the boundary and the desire that is underneath that boundary. And then, another thing that really I see shifting with clients is just their relationship to their emotions. Huge to not have, triggers be and default patterns be so pervasive, but just more sense of kind of self-responsibility for emotions and understanding them versus, having to project on others, which often happens. And I call that whole part of my program building emotional flow, because we want to feel emotions, but also resiliency, because we don't want to get taken down by emotions. So that those are some of the areas where I really see clients shifting and changing with this work.
Yeah. I hear a lot of like self-trust and kind of really being able to tune in and sort of own and claim what people want, whereas maybe that would have been challenging in the past.
Yeah, that's very true. It's and I talk about this a lot. It's the first step of creating great relationships is our relationship to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
creating a great relationship to ourselves. I know you talk about that too. And just having that be primary, because I really believe that when we love ourselves and we embody that love, we radiate that love, we become that love, then, receiving love from another is like a byproduct.
Yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. So many of the things you've shared will certainly resonate with women who are looking for a relationship. But as you said at the very beginning, I mean, these are practices that we can absolutely use when we're in one as well, because who doesn't want to be able to trust themselves more? And really feel like they can navigate big emotions and have tough conversations and, feel like they're fully present in their relationships.
Absolutely. So important.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get to our final question, which I'm excited about because you gave me a little sneak peek of what you're going to share with everybody. And so that's, what is one suggestion, tool, or practice you could offer to listeners who are looking to transform their relationship?
Oh, so many fun things. How I'm going to focus right now is to encourage all the listeners to get clear on what it is you really want and desire. And that sounds simple, but what I see is that most of us aren't really clear on what we want. We're often clear more about what we don't want, and we kind of get stuck in the I don't want this. And usually it has something to do with what's going on in our lives at that time. And a lot of us kind of get stuck in what the head and the ego have to say, or, kind of what we think we should want. But I encourage women to really get kind of a deep embodied sense of desire from their heart and their body. And the key to this, I believe, is really getting in touch with the feeling or the feelings. Not the thoughts, not the the list, but really getting in touch with the feelings. So as far as just right now, I would encourage anyone listening just to take a moment to place like one palm in the center of the chest and one down on the lower abdomen, closing your eyes if it's safe to do so. And just allow yourself to feel a few breath cycles move through the center of your torso, moving through your body. And then with a little sense of curiosity and delight, just ask yourself, how do I want to feel in either a future relationship or a current relationship? How do I want to feel? And just notice what comes up, any words or sensations, and really honor them. Take time to just honor them, maybe augmenting or enhancing that feeling in your body. And I know for some, what may come up is a little bit of kind of reality might come in. We might start thinking of, oh, I can't have that with my spouse, or I'll never find somebody like that. Or, we're just settling for the best we think we can have. And then just encourage you as much as possible, notice those thoughts and just allow them to kind of float by, staying focused on what it is you want and desire, your true desires, kind of resting into potential and possibility. Let go of the how, and maybe even speak out loud, verbalize for yourself. What are 2 or 3 things that you want to feel right now? And then we'll go ahead and close that, although you could do it many more times or for longer if you'd like on your own. But write down what came up for you. And, keep that on a little sticky note or somewhere so you have a reminder to drop into that feeling, not the worry of the how, not that I can't have it, just keep going back to the feeling of it and the clarity of it. So.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely love those experiential practices. And I think the energy of like the feelings and the emotions just can feel so much more powerful than just thinking it. And so
Hmm.
I really
Yeah.
love that you kind of, just allowed us to linger there and invited us to notice like, well, what might come up and maybe some of the limitations or the shoulds or, what we have available to us, like versus really just like floating into that space of like, what do I really want? And so
Hmm.
such a beautiful
Yeah.
this.
And and that space is where kind of the energetic magic lives.
Mm,
And it's the
hmm.
space where we start to kind of reprogram our systems too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, not from
Yeah.
our head.
Very, yeah, beautiful. That was, that was so beautiful. I'm so glad that people had an opportunity to experience that. And I know that you also have a little gift that you are going to share, which I will drop in the show notes. But is there anything that you'd like to say about that?
Sure. So yeah, it's I call it the clarity is key love checklist. And again, having clarity around what we want, I think is so important. This is a tool to help you start this process. And it's all about getting crystal clear on what's really important to you in relationship. There's over 50 different aspects. And of course, it starts with how do you want to feel, and then
Mm-hmm.
goes from there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is designed again for single women, but the
Mm-hmm.
first 2 out of 3 sections are totally applicable to those who are in relationship as
Mm.
well. So, um,
Awesome.
yeah, so
Wonderful. Yeah.
that's available on my website and with that link. So,
Okay, perfect. And I will also include that in the show notes. And so, yeah, thank you so much for sharing and leading us in that experience, which is just like the tip of the iceberg if people want to work with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of the Transform Your Relationship podcast. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts to help more people find us so they can transform their relationships too. As a thank you, every month, we'll pick one winner to receive a free 45-minute one-on-one somatic coaching session with me to explore and gain clarity around a relationship challenge. And if you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the show, then please do share and help me reach more highly sensitive women who want to experience richer, more connected relationships.